Welcome to Bad Idea Metals. I decided I'm going to turn this into a video after all. I'm baking some chips. It's my wok. It's a nice hand-me-down wok from a neighbor who no longer used it. So we're going to cook these down, and when they turn nice and white, we will process the gold out of them. I didn't get a weight. I wasn't planning to record this video. These are chips that have been sitting in hydrochloric for about 18 months. I forgot about them. I keep finding them, and I was like, oh, you know what? I got to process these. So I never weighed them before I put them in the hydrochloric. The hydrochloric turned green and brown with rust on top. So I didn't want to touch it with my hands, even with gloves on. So I rinsed them off real well and put them in the wok. And so I don't have a weight. Maybe I'll grab a weight as they're cooling. But for now, it's just a handful of IC chips from RAM. So those are memory module chips. And we'll do the gold recovery on this. Okay, let's catch up at the next phase. Okay, well, it's now the next day, and this is what we can now see we have left. You can see some of these chips are not white, but after just tapping them with something heavy, I've got this bar of brass. You can see that they do indeed break up pretty well. Here, let's get in closer. Even those black ones break up pretty good. Oh, this big one, that went. But it looks like we're good. Let's try this black one right here. Yeah, it broke up. It broke up pretty good. So I can probably put this through my grinder. Oh, there's one that might not be ready. No. Anyway, so my spot check confirms that I believe we're pretty close. I should be able to grind all these. I could grind these up by hand, and some people have a ball mill, which I don't. I'm actually tempted to use something like a paint can. A paint can would be interesting with some ball bearings in it, and then you just shake it by hand. Still a pretty manual process, but at least it won't be quite as loud. That is my concern, is the noise. I've got some neighbors that I really don't want to annoy, so. Anyway, that's where we're at. Pretty good mix of chips here. And we just need to grind it. Let's get to it. I recently acquired this grinder. I've never even opened it. I don't know anything about it. It was cheap, which was really the only thing I was after. And I figured if it was strong enough to grind a coffee bean, it was probably strong enough to grind IC chips. So you guys get to see as well as I do how well this is going to do. Yeah, there's the plug. There's the warranty. Let's go ahead and void that immediately by grinding something that it's not intended to grind. Let's start small, right? Let's not see what our limit will be on day one. I believe this locks down at least. Align the arrows. There. There we go. All right. Now, let's see what we end up with. It's a nice powder. I prepared a beaker for it. And for the record, I didn't speed anything up just now. You saw how fast that chopped it up. It chopped up the silica dyes really well too. Not that that mattered, but okay. So make quick work of our mess after all. Could be gold bond wire in any of this dust, so want to try to get it all. And there's some up here too. I think that's pretty good. Well, let's see what we can do here. So we'll set our wok off to the side. It's part of our video is done. Okay. Got it all pretty much out of there. We won't need the grinder anymore, so let's unplug that before it starts raining. Look at that. And you can hear my wind chimes picking up. That storm is here. So let's cover this. We'll go ahead and cover this, and we'll get this dust out of here once the rain is past. All right, I'll catch you later. So we've got an empty bucket or recycle bin. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to get as much of the carbon-based silt to become free floating, and I'll dump that off. The reason why we won't just dump it out is sometimes the gold can stay bound up in the bigger parts. And if we decide we want to reprocess it, well, that way we can do so. Whatever settles down to the bottom, we'll consider it. Trying to show you guys what I'm doing, but it's not working. There we go. It actually looks like we're not going to be fine enough. We may need to break down our coarse material to a finer material. Decisions. I don't normally sieve it, which is what a lot of people do. They'll get a sieve out. Let's reassess for a second. Now that it's wet, I can't just grind it again right now. I'd have to dry it, and this is going to take a long time to dry. But I'm seeing really chunky particles still. So although it looked nice and fine before, there's chunks about the size of pennies. That's about a centimeter. You know what? We're gonna let this dry out, and we're gonna re-grind it. Okay, Well, here, this is what it looks like right now. You can see there's some really big pieces in here. So we'll let it dry. Try again another day. Okay. I'll bring you back in when I'm ready to grind again. Okay, it's been, I don't know, five days or so. I wanted to make sure this is thoroughly dry, which it is, and you can see now how coarse some of that material, some of that stuff is. So we're gonna grind it into a finer dust if we can. Now let's move this up from coarse to fine. Let's see what that'll do. There's no way I'm gonna get all of this in here at once. I'm gonna need another container, huh? Well, we'll worry about that in about a second here. Let's even see if this works. Let's see. See, this tricked me before because it looks nice and fine right now. Let's give it a new home for a second, and we'll see what we end up with. All right, well, this beaker is dirty. It's not dirty as in chemically dirty, it's just very dusty. Let's see. I don't know, that looked better. I guess we'll find out when we rinse it. Okay, before we start messing around with water, let's unplug our electronic device and move it out of the way. Okay, so now let's get as much of that powder into the liquid as we can. And that way we could dump the powder out and leave the metal behind. Give that a second for the gold that did happen to get into the, suspended in the liquid to settle back down for a second. All right, let's pour some of this off. Very slowly. Huh. All right, let's add more water. We do this a few times. It's looking a lot finer now. That's good. All right. We don't need a whole lot of chemicals. We're going to put in about, I'd say about 400 milliliter of hydrochloric. So there's our hydrochloric. It's reacting, which makes me wonder if there's any tin in here. Shouldn't be too much tin. Shouldn't be any tin. It sat in those pretzel barrels that I have. It sat in a pretzel barrel for over a year. No, it's just air bubbles. I'm gonna add just a touch of nitric. Okay. I'm going to give this a very careful stir now that we've got the aqua regia formed. Help that penetrate our powder. We'll give this about 30 minutes or so, then we'll filter it. Get all that carbon mess out of there. Let's see what we end up with. Try not to block the camera here, but the reaction is stopped. We're gonna cotton ball filter this. You know what? We don't need a whole cotton ball for this little funnel. Let's go ahead and use part of one. Looks Looks good to me. Pack it in pretty good. So I'm just gonna rinse the powder. I don't feel like the whole powder needs to move over here. We're just gonna get the liquid. It's a nice gold color, I love it. You can see the difference of the liquids here. I poured the concentrated stuff into one side, and it was gonna take all day, right? So I tried a different approach for the other side and watered it down heavily. So you can see they're both the same solution, just one is more watered down than the other. Let's go ahead and combine these and then add some sodium metabisulfite. So let's combine our two liquids. This is the concentrated one. Still a lot of liquid in there. Just carefully set that off to the side. That looks pretty good. Put our funnel back in that. We'll take care of all the waste off to the side. Not bore you with all those details. Now this one still has a little bit of water in the funnel here. Let's try to draw some of that out real fast. It's pretty clear as it is. I'm gonna just call it. All right, so we set that funnel off to the side. We're gonna take this liquid and add it to this liquid. And this is our diluted stuff. So this has got a lot of water in it. From the look of it, it's got a considerable amount. From the look of it, it's got a considerable amount of powder in it too. That powder is the carbon chips. All right. This still has acid in it, so we're going to take some sulfamic acid and we're going to counteract some of the nitric. You don't want to go too fast. One of the reasons why I came out here onto this board is in case I accidentally go too fast. All right, I'm not getting much reaction anymore, so that's good. Let's move on to our sodium metabisulfite. Don't want too much, but we want enough. Let's go ahead and close this up. We'll see how this looks tomorrow. Precipitated down pretty well. Let's go ahead and pour off this liquid here. We definitely ended up with more than I expected, but the powder is always a little misleading. It's never as much as it looks like, but that's even more than I was expecting. So that's good for us. Okay, we're gonna give this a good rinse. Looks like a little bit made it over, just a trace amount. That's why we saved this. We'll save this in a bucket, and then that bucket will be processed in the future. So, all right. So I just took care of all the water from the used aquaresia. That's over in my stock pot. So if any trace amounts made it, they'll be over there. We'll get them someday. Today is not that day. It's not a whole lot. In fact, it's hardly any. But it's still some, so we're gonna keep going forward with what we got. We're gonna let this dry out just a little bit. Maybe I'll just put it in wet, or maybe I'll put it through a filter. What should I do? Should I filter it? Should I do it wet? I got most of that water out. Let's just do it wet. Well, let's go see what that weighs. Well, I knew it didn't make very much, so let's go ahead and weigh it. About 0.5 gram, a little bit more than that. Again, this was the DDR1 and old SDRAM style chips. I let them sit in acid for over a year by accident. There you go. Well, thanks for watching. I'll post a video here pretty soon about the Gold Corner BGAs. And the dog's gonna see us out. Okay, well, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. I know I already closed out the video, but I got to thinking there should have been more gold in that. I don't remember how many kilograms or how many grams of chips that I had. I put them all into that bucket to eat away the legs off of RAM chips like these. And there should have been more gold than 0.5 gram. So I probably lost some in either letting them sit for too long or I didn't get it all out of the powder. And so I can fix the powder problem. I still have it all. It's just drying. I don't want to run that much acid through all that powder to find that there's nothing in there. But chips like these, there should be like 2 grams or so per kilogram. And I think that was close to 1 kilogram, so I only got 0.5 gram. That's what I'm perplexed about. It's definitely not in the solution. I did a stannous chloride and it's clean. So I didn't leave it in solution. It wasn't going back in. Anyway, got all these old style RAM chips. These are pretty nice. I think they're PC100. This is pre-DDR, I believe. Anyway, yeah, I got a lot to do, but I'll get to some of this year if I can. I got a few tear parts that have been requested, so we'll get to that probably next. But I just wanted to follow up, even though I know I already closed out the video, that there should have been more gold in there, and mistakes must have been made, and we'll figure it out. We'll improve process as we have to, but there we go. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a good night.